Just get concerned when everybody starts hugging.
Mm-hmm. Looking all studious now.
Oh, is that what makes you look
Yeah,
stupid?
that's what makes you look studious.
Hold on a minute. How's that?
No, it didn't help.
Okay, for everybody that missed the news flash, your two preachers and their families left town. And the reason why they left town is because my oldest grandson proposed to their oldest daughter this weekend. So it's all over Facebook. Me and Daphne was told not to say a word for months. And the good thing about it is we forgot about it. So,
Forgot what?
yeah. So that's all there. And the other great news is we got like the third. I almost said third string quarterback, but that's not fair. I mean,
True, but not fair.
well, I mean, it's like, hey, we got a great lineup of people that can preach. And so Jacob's preaching this morning. He's already got his line. He's already got the deacons lined out. I hope he went and did something with the trustees. I don't know yet. He needs to go do something with them boys.
Billy
goes,
goes,
"No."
no.
Well, I think he said, I'm going to go see about these other guys. I'm not even going to mess with Billy.
No, there's no sense to.
Yeah. But anyway, so that's the gist of it. And I'm supposed to tell. I'm glad I said that. I'm supposed to tell all y'all that on the 18th, which should be next Sunday. Anybody help? Somebody validate that for me. We're going to have a little preachers appreciation cake and ice cream Sunday night after the small group service. So be there, be square. I'm not. Beverly knows about it. My wife knows about it. I'm thinking they're taking care of it because I haven't done anything. But we're gonna have cake and ice cream. So.
We got it.
Yeah, but I'm gonna make sure I bring my kind of ice cream because I'm not gonna eat all that other mint and strawberry and two-step track, whatever it is. I don't know.
Yeah, Purity O chocolate, right?
Well,
No, he gets the great divide.
I get Great Divide. You can dig in half of it and get Purity O Dutch chocolate if you want to. Or vanilla if you want to, or get a little bit of both. Mr. Pipes, you doing okay?
Good, good. When y'all start on time.
Evidently. We have.
Yeah, I'm making announcements.
Pre-show.
Pre-show.
Show now.
You said pre-show?
She
Yeah, that's
said,
what, he tapped me on the shoulder and laughed and said, "It's a show now."
Are we gonna have a halftime show too?
yeah,
Yeah, Alan's gonna do a pom-pom routine.
Oh, boy. Any prayer requests, y'all?
Yeah, I got my, just found out last night, my uncle in Tennessee, he's 86, 87-ish. Just got put in the hospital. He's passing a lot of blood. He's anemic. They don't know where it's coming from.
Tennessee?
Tennessee.
Brad's uncle in Tennessee. Somebody else? Linda?
Drusilla's mother, they called in hospice, and she really needs our prayer because she wants to be there and she can't leave Bobby, so she's just really going through a tough time right now.
What's her mother's name?
Her mother's name?
Her name.
Uh,
Say again?
Fox.
Geraldine Fox.
Geraldine. Okay. And I know that. Geraldine Fox. I think she sent a text out or Facebook or something. I saw that already. Who else? Is that it? Prayer request? All righty. Yes,
I
ma'am.
thought Brad's Uncle Carlin is in the hospital in Tennessee.
Is that the one in Tennessee?
Yeah,
The one he just told us about?
I'm sorry. I'm so sorry.
They say, how many cousins in Tennessee does he have?
I don't know, but I'm not going home with
I got lots of cousins, but it's my uncle.
That might have been the guy that had to steal it one time.
Hey, easy, big fella.
Is that the guy that had to steal?
So
Hey, what did Tennessee?
Yes, as a matter of fact.
I don't know, but I wish it,
Arkansas.
oh, gosh, okay. Okay,
In Louisiana,
yeah, we're gonna pray.
we need to.
We need to pray. Les, pray for us, please.
Dear gracious Heavenly Father, thank you for another day of life, Lord. Lord, just continue to bless this class and what everyone in here means to us, Lord.
Amen.
Lord, thank you to what you do for us, Lord. Thank you for each and every day that you give us another day of life on this earth, Lord. Lord, just continue to watch over. Lift up the ones that have been mentioned this morning. Just you know the names, Lord. You know the needs. Put your healing touch upon those, Lord. Put the comfort of those that need it, Lord. Just continue to watch over us. And bless the preacher this morning as he gives us the message, Lord. That's unlost soul. Lost soul here doesn't leave unfound, Lord. Make sure he gets touched, Lord. And once again, bless Brother Allen and drawing a blank.
Brother Brad.
Brother Brad, as they bring your message to us, Lord. Watch over us, lead, guide, and direct us. For his precious and holy name we pray. Amen.
Okay, so we're past. Yeah, we're past. It's like, you know, when we get in one of those prayers and we go into drawing the blanks, it's like if somebody needs to just shout the name out. Just go ahead and help us out.
You got to figure out whether it's they've drawn a blank or whether the Lord got a hold of them for a minute.
Well, maybe the Lord got a hold to him for a minute. So I'm sure that everybody looked at the lesson this week. Everybody studied it a little bit. I hate to say that it's something new, or I'd like to say it's something new and different, but it wasn't. I was kind of thinking, which gets me in trouble a bunch. I'm gonna read the Exodus verses, all three of them first, and then we'll get going on that. So it's Exodus 20, and it would be Exodus 20, 15 through 17. It says, "Thou shalt not steal. Thou shalt not bear false witness against thy neighbor." And then 17, "Thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's wife, nor his manservant, nor his maidservant, nor his ox, nor his ass, donkey, nor anything that is thine's neighbor." So there's a whole bunch of verses that you can look at and read about. Look up 1 Timothy 6:6, and then when you get to that, read that for me, please, sir. I like one of the things that the lesson talked about. It says God's concerned with a person's integrity where what's inside matches what's outside. So you got it? Go ahead.
But godliness with contentment is great gain.
There it is. So I mean, when you look at that verse and you see it, it's referring to verse 17. And the issue that, I was going to say, the issue that we have when we're growing up, because I don't know. I mean, you know, we're still working on this thing called sanctification. And we're going to be working on that until we die and graduate to heaven. I would like to think that we still don't look at other people and the things that they have and say, "Man, I want that. I need that." And again, one of the claims it makes, and I'm not going to tell you what Jacob told us this morning. He kind of gave the deacons a little preview of coming attractions for this morning. And I mean, this is in the lesson. Psalms 24:1. Kim, you want to look that up for me, please? I think I wrote that up on the board. I did. And the rest of y'all, there's some verses up there y'all might want to be ready just in case. You feel like I'm winging it right now?
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Doing a good job there.
Mm-hmm.
Awkward silence. You there?
Me?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm here.
Please read.
The earth is, the earth is the Lord's and the fullness thereof, the world and they that dwell therein.
So when I looked at that verse to do with the lesson, it's like, if you just read that verse, that's fine. It tells you everything belongs to God. Duh. I mean, we know that, right? So if you read the whole psalm, it's a good psalm to read, other than just that one verse, because there's a lot of good stuff in that one psalm. The thing about it is these things that we desire, the things that we want. The question is do we want them or do we need them? We want them. There's a lot of things that we need. And so some of the examples the lesson gives is when you have an 800-foot square house, are you happy? Although a buddy of yours might have a 4,000 square foot house. Are you happy, or are you living happily in what the Lord has provided for you?
Are you content with what you have?
There you go. And so, and that's the question.
Is it okay to want things?
Yeah.
Sure it is.
As long as they don't consume you.
We are to be responsible stewards of God's property. It's okay to want things. It's not okay to want His stuff. I might want something like what He has, but I don't want His. That's okay.
So one of the things that I highlighted in here says possessions of property itself is neutral, neither good or evil. And I highlighted that sentence because that's the answer right there. Pursuit of possessions, the property itself is neutral, neither good nor evil. All the stuff that we want beyond what we really need. I mean, we need a good roof over our head. We need plenty of food to eat or enough food to eat. And we want to be happy. We want our kids to be happy. We want to be content with what we have. It's when those possessions, and that's what I was saying about Brother Jacob, what he's going to preach on, we talked about, but when those possessions that we have start consuming our life, and they become more important than the God that's provided it to them. I mean, have anybody ever, y'all never heard this, right? But when they become more important to the God that provides them, and I think Brad said it a minute ago, and I heard a preacher say this one time, that just popped in my head. God will tend to give us more, and it's coming up in that we also have Psalms 37, 1 through 6. Right in the middle of that 1 through 6 is a very important verse. But when we start liking or coveting or taking advantage of or taking everything we have and wanting more or what we have, and when we place that in front of God, it's not a good thing. But at the same time, if we don't take care of what we have, the things that we ask for and that He may give us, and we just discard them and don't take care of them, why would He give us anything else? Because He says, the things that I give you, you need to be good stewards of that. Because I furnished them to you. There is nothing, and I mean, I can't help it. I'm going to have to allude to last weekend, because of some of the verses that are in this lesson, when we were at the conference, was some of it's what I talked on. And how can He provide us things if we're not taking care of what we have, or the things that we have begin to consume us and it turns us away from Him? The thing about it is, if we need something else and we're taking care of what we have, and we realize where we got it from and how we got it, the thing about it is and I thought when I said this the other day, I guess it meant a whole lot more to me than when I said it to other people, because I was probably off track on some rabbit trail or something, but I don't really ever do that.
Not you.
But the thing about it is everything we have, He gave it to us. And there's nothing that we want In my mind, I could think of some things, but there's nothing in our mind that we would want that doesn't belong to him anyway. I mean, that's the bottom line. So when he gives us things, he gives us the things that we desire, and we don't take care of it or we abuse it. Why would he give us something more? And I mean, that's a hard way to look at it, but that's kind of a backwards. Let's back into this question. It's like, why do I need to, Alan, you're not taking care of what I give you. Why would I give you more? You can't handle what you have. And the thing that we forget sometimes is everything that's out there for us to do. And I use the examples that I always use. For me, at hunting, fishing, golfing, whatever. He gave us all of that. There's nothing that we do on this earth that he doesn't provide. The problem is he knows we want to do it. So if we want to do it, if we're good stewards of it, then he will let us do it. He's going to give it to us. The thing is when we start placing those things before him. And I mean, if you don't believe that, I mean, you can go ahead and do what you want to do. Somebody look up John 8:44, please.
One of the things I got out of reading the lesson last night, and when we was talking about do not steal and do not give false testimony. When you think about do not steal, what do you think of?
Literally going out to a store
Steal.
and stealing something. Or, you know, the literal meaning of stealing.
Right. And it doesn't, stealing doesn't necessarily mean going out and taking something. It can also be causing damage to somebody else's property.
Mm-hmm.
Because the act of stealing and the act of damaging something, or the act of damaging their reputation, is the same thing. You're depriving them of something that they had. Whether you physically take it from them, whether you tear it up so they can't enjoy it, or whether you bear false witness against them with a bad reputation, you're taking things away from them that they can't use, if you will. So it's not just going out and doing the physical taking of something. It's a whole lot more than that. And who had the verse?
John 8:44, anybody?
Ye are of your father the devil, and the lust of your father will ye do. He was a murderer from the beginning, and abode not in the truth, because there is no truth in him. When he speaketh a lie, he speaketh of his own, for he is a liar and the father of it.
So that's talking about the devil. And anytime we allow him to get in and take and abuse the things that we've been given, it's because we're letting him get in our life. So growing up, when I was growing up, one of the worst things, I mean, I know I lied to my mother. There's no way I'm going to say I never told a lie. But my mom had this uncanny sense about her that she knew everything that I did, and I'm not real sure how she did that. And she made the comment one time, said, "Boy, I know when your big toe hits the floor." I'm going like, wow. So, and she had this unique way of getting me. I probably told you all this before. There's times when I needed to be beat. I'll just say it. I needed a beating. And she wouldn't do it. It's like when your dad gets home, I like, go get the belt. Come on, Mom, you do it.
Just go ahead and take me out.
But Mom had a way of tearing me down with her words. And it was horrible. And I remember that. And the thing about it is that was, as I grew up, I just soon get the beating than just the tearing down. And when we tear somebody down with our words, you've harmed or stolen their integrity. And sometimes they can't recover from that. And all sin, we figured that out this weekend. There's no color. Blevins, sin has no colors. There's no little white lies. It's lies, period. And when we lie, we're lying to God. We're not lying to anybody else. We're lying straight to God. So the integrity part, I mean, and Brad mentioned some stuff, but the integrity part of it. And so if you do the flip-flop and we as Christians walk and talk one way, or we talk one way and walk the other way, what are we doing? We're a hypocrite, but we're tearing somebody else down by putting a false belief in their head. Two things. Number one, that we're not what we say we are. Number two, it's like, well, if that's what a Christian is, well, I don't need to do anything. I don't need to change what I'm doing, if that's what a Christian is. So the stealing, the lying, coveting, and integrity. And for me, the tearing down or having lack of integrity, or the tearing down of somebody else's integrity, horrible. Horrible, horrible.
Bearing false witness on someone, you're lying.
Yep.
It's a lie. You're not telling the truth. And if you're not telling the truth, whose side are you on? God is the God of truth. He cannot tell a lie.
And there's
On the
verses.
flip side, you have the devil, and that's all he does. He is the God of lies. So when you're bearing false witness, you're lying, and you're putting yourself in cahoots with him.
Cahoots.
Hmm?
Cahoots.
Cahoots?
Yes, a
Yeah.
highly technical word.
It's very technical.
I like it.
It's very technical for me.
It's redneck.
Please break it down for us. Give us the Greek version and all that.
Don't
See
hold
what
your
I have to live with?
don't hold your breath, because you're gonna look like Billy's shirt, a pretty shade of blue, before I get that done.
So basically, one of the reasons Brad said cahoots is because we're not to covet stuff. And
See, I was
the
segueing.
Hebrew word for that, if I can pronounce it right, shamad.
There you go.
C-H-A-M-A-D. That's just plain Louisiana right there. Shamad. I mean, I don't know what else to call that. It's not hyphenated, but it means to covet. It means to covet.
And like I said, is it wrong to covet?
Yes.
Is covet a sin? Is covet in itself a sin?
No,
No.
not according to the lesson.
No.
According to the lesson,
It's not a sin, it's what the action you put to it.
and it's what you're coveting.
But it doesn't necessarily is a bad thing either, because they also go into more detail about how Deuteronomy, the Hebrew word or whatever, is desire. You know, if you want to desire a closer walk with the Lord, a deeper relationship, a closer friendship with somebody, those aren't in itself, that's not sin.
Right.
As far as coveting that or desiring that.
I see Alan driving a brand new truck. I like that truck. I'd like to have a truck like that. That's okay. I see Alan driving a brand new truck and I want his truck. That's not okay.
Or if you go out and you buy that truck and you really can't afford that truck, if you're living beyond your means, to me, that also is pushing that word covet a little, you know, you're pushing the boundaries there, and a lot of people do it.
Yeah.
I mean, when we were young, we were guilty of it, because we weren't really seeking the Lord on those things, you were just going out and doing it. So-
You're more keeping up with the Joneses than you were keeping up with the
Right.
Lord.
So that Cindy's statement, and I was looking at it, but Cindy's statement is, and you did, there's nothing wrong with wanting something. And I think the big thing, and I think you just covered it, is when you want something and it's beyond your means and you go do it anyway, then there comes that stewardship thing that we were talking about a minute ago, because we're not being good stewards. We're going way out beyond our means. And all that does to a lot of us is when we start buying the vehicles and the homes and stuff. And listen, I remember when Dath and I bought our first home. And I was very fortunate, man. I had some great mentors in my life. And one of them explained to me, there's nothing wrong with buying a house. He said, and this is the old-fashioned way. I don't know if I don't know about Dave Ramsey, okay, whatever. But the bottom line is you have to take a look at your money, and you look at that and say, well, this is what I can afford. And if that, my thought, my training is if you can look at your salary and 1 week of pay or maybe 2 weeks of pay 1 week of pay will cover that note, then you're doing pretty good. So that, I mean, you've got to look at yourself. You got to look at what you want. Do you really, do you want it or do you need it? And if you want it and say, I want it, and then you go get it knowing full well you can't afford it, then we get ourselves into debt. Then we start taking away from God, or we get into a position where we can't do His service, we can't attend. So anytime we go after something, but there's nothing wrong, it's right here in the lesson, there's nothing wrong to covet God's word. Because that means you desire God's word. And covet the things He wants. You ready to read them other verses? Because I got a bunch of stuff in there too.
Moving on. One thing. Neighbor. Who's your neighbor?
Oof.
It ain't that person that lives on both sides of it, is it? It's okay for me to covet what Warren has because he don't live next to me.
No, I'm sorry.
No. For those that want the Greek and the Latin, the Hebrew word for neighbor is Ria. But look at it this way. Neighbor is anybody that's on either side of you no matter where you are. It's not when you're at home. It's everybody. What am I reading?
Psalms 37, 1 through 6. I read that once.
36, 1 through 6.
37.
37, 1 through 6. I was reading that. Fret not thyself because of evil doers, neither be thou envious against the workers of iniquity. For they shall soon be cut down like the grass and wither as the green herb. Trust in the Lord and do good, so shalt thou dwell in the land, and verily thou shalt be fed. Delight thyself in the Lord, and He shall give thee to the desires of thine heart. Commit thy way unto the Lord, trust also in Him, and He shall bring it to pass.
So, Mark, look up 2 Corinthians 9, 6 through 8. And Les, have you read anything? Malachi 3:10. When I was looking at these verses, that verse 37:4, I use that verse a lot. I used it the past weekend at the conference. You there yet, Mark?
Sorry.
That's okay. No, that's good.
I had 8, 6 through 8.
2 Corinthians 9, 6 through 8.
Okay. But this I say, he which soweth sparingly shall reap also sparingly, and he which soweth bountifully shall reap also bountifully. Every man according as he purposeth in his heart, so let him give, not grudgingly, nor of necessity, for God loveth a cheerful giver.
That's it. That's good. Malachi 3:10.
Bring ye all the tithes into the storehouse, that there may be meat in mine house. And prove me now herewith, saith the Lord of hosts, if I will not open you the windows of heaven, and pour you out a blessing, that there shall not be room enough to receive it.
2 Corinthians 9, 6 through 8, and then Malachi 3:10. What is being discussed there? What are they talking about? I mean, 3:10 says bring in tithes. Okay, what 2 Corinthians 9 through 6? Talk about what? Giving. So what do we immediately think about when we read those verses? Anybody else? Cindy said it, our money. When I first discovered that Malachi 3:10, because it specifically says, bring in your tithes to the storehouse. And the best part about that verse is, at the end of it, it says, Malachi 3:10 is a command, it's a test, it's a command and a promise. And there's just tons of verses in the Bible where he gives us verses that gives us commands. Bring up a child in the way they should go, and they'll return to it. That's a command. Second part's a promise. So when you see that, immediately what you think about, I'm supposed to tithe, I'm supposed to give. It's not always money. So the reason when I caught those verses, when we got into the verses today and I was looking at that, and they gave those verses to reference to, I used that, I made a comment about 37:4, and I made a comment about Malachi 3:10. And the response that I got from somebody that was in the group that I was talking to, the comment was, how is that not prosperity preaching? Well, if you take it to be just money, I guess, but I don't know that the Lord said anything about, I'm going to dump a boatload of money in your, just watch when I open up the window. That's not what he said. The thing is we look at blessings wrong. Man, did you get up this morning? Have you had a good day? Everybody doing good? That's a blessing.
The blessing is he gives you what you need, not what you want necessarily.
And the thing with Malachi is, yes, we're supposed to give our tithes and our offerings, we're supposed to give our talents and our gifts, but that's giving back to God, but God doesn't need anything.
That's right.
He doesn't need a thing from us, but he has given us this command to give back to him and to honor him with our tithes and offerings and talents and gifts, and we're stealing from him when we don't do this.
Yeah, when you do all those things, what are you doing? You're giving him the glory. That's what we're supposed to be doing, period.
We're supposed to be furthering his kingdom.
Right.
So, I mean, I think that's even the lesson about the glory thing. I'm good with all those answers, but the older I get, I can go try to find stuff history-wise. Man, I did a whole talk about Joshua that I had no way to back it up biblically. It was just a thought process that they recollected or thought of. The only way Joshua could be the way he was. But here's the deal. Somewhere in that Malachi 3:10, it says something to the effect, bring it back so I can have meat for something. The word is used. So back in the Old Testament, I don't know that they were bringing money, they were tithing with money. They were tithing with what they had.
Grain, cattle, whatever they had.
Whatever they had.
Had to bring.
The first and best sheep, the first and best calf, that was the stuff that was required. And you need a tenth. If you brought in 100 pounds of grain, well, you need to give the first 10 pounds of it to the Lord. So back then it wasn't necessarily talking about money. The blessing was, man, I had a great crop. I'm gonna give 15% of that crop back to the Lord instead of 10. Where in the Old Testament, where was that going to? Where was that stuff going to?
Temple.
To the temple.
Taking care of the priest?
What?
Wasn't it taking care of the priest?
Yes, it was.
Went to the temple.
It went to the temple for sacrifices. It went to the temple to take care of the men that were in the temple so they could be about doing God's business. Now you get into the Old Testament. There's not a whole lot about tithing.
What was it David that did the first where he conquered all the land and then he got so much cattle and stuff and he came up with a third. He gave a third of it to the Lord. It was all, none of it was money. It was the cattle, the horses, the whatever,
It was the first fruit.
the plunder.
The first fruit. Who said that?
Yeah.
First fruit.
So the bottom line is it's not always money. And very seldom is it going to be money when the blessings that's going to come out of that window, it's very seldom going to be money. It's going to be things that we need. God knows us better than we know ourselves. He knows exactly what I don't need. Because I probably couldn't handle it if he gave it to me. The thing is are we happy and are we content with what he gives us? I don't know how, but that popped in my mind when I was looking at the lesson and that comment I heard about, well, that's prosperity preaching. The one thing that I think some of the guys look back on some of this stuff every now and then, but it was several years ago we did a series on Tony Evans, and we were going into the fellowship hall to look at it. And I'll never forget in that one lesson he did that one Sunday, he said, he said, God wants to bless you. The problem is we don't know how to ask for the blessing, or we don't know how to accept the blessing. He said, Tony Evans made the reference, they're out there. All we have to do is be willing to receive them and understand what the blessing is. And it's the same way with that verse. Again, I don't see any reference. It doesn't say anything about when that window opens up and then blessings dump out, that it's going to be dollars falling out the window. It simply makes reference to the tithe, and if you read the whole thing and listen to it, it makes reference to a tithe that says, bring meat into the storehouse and see if I won't open up the windows. And that meat in the storehouse, it's not for God. It's to take care of them people or take care of that storehouse. And I mean, I don't know how to tell you about that, other than I've read that verse 1,000 times, and to me it relates to everything that we talked about this morning. God wants to bless us. He wants to give us He wants to give us the things. And again, I'm going to backtrack to what I said. There is nothing even this morning when I thought to myself, when I was talking to myself again.
Self, I said.
There's nothing on earth that doesn't belong to Him. There's just things that we take that we shouldn't have, and then we abuse them. And whether that be anything, and I'm thinking like, He's not going to make, He doesn't make us go out and abuse drugs or alcohol or things like that. They're there. And anything that we do, that He provided whatever it took to make that. The thing is medicine is there, and it's to be prescribed, not to be abused. And when we abuse it, that's us. It's not Him, because He gave us something or allowed us to have something. Sooner or later, we're going to have something that's going to vaccinate us from this stupid stuff that's out there. That we're going to have something they can treat it with. And it's not because we invented something. It's not about, oh boy. I had to backslap myself right then. It's not about the science, okay? It's about what God allows. And they don't understand the only reason they can say they're a scientist is because God allowed it. And if they're a good one, that means God's provided for them. And they need to recognize who has made them or got them where they are.
Preach it.
That's no different than us. There's nothing we want, there's nothing that we have, and there's nothing that we want that God's not given us, and He will provide it to us if He thinks we can handle it. And I know we don't like to be told that, so I'm telling myself.
Number 4, take delight in the Lord, and He will give you your heart's desires. That doesn't mean my desire to have $1 million. It means He'll give me what I need, what I have to have, not what I want to have. It also tells you, don't be envious of evildoers. Just because they look like they're being prosperous and not living the life, it's all going to go away. You can't take it with you. Can't take it with you.
You can line your casket with you. With it.
That don't go with you, it just stays in the ground.
I think that just shows you the joy that you should have in the Lord, is you look at somebody, say in a foreign country, that's usually what comes to mind, and they're living in a little tin shack held up by string or whatever, and they love the Lord, they know the Lord, and they're happy. They know that He is gonna provide what they need, and it may not be anything but a pot of beans and rice for the week, if that. So, it's not necessarily about stuff.
Yeah,
A
be
lot
happy.
of people take it to be that.
Be happy with what you got, because I went to China for 14 days, and I saw things in China that just, we were driving down the road, and you see these caves out in the fields, and I said something to a guy, our guide, or whatever you want. And I said, what are the caves? And he said, if it doesn't have anything across the front of it, that's just a cave where the workers go and get out of the weather when bad weather comes in. But he said if there's a cover across the front of it, there's at least one family living in there. That's what they know. They're happy. That's all they need. They've got shelter that a lot of people don't have. They're happy with it.
So, real quick, when we got to stop. So I said the commands and promises. And that 37:4 says, delight, take pleasure thyself unto the Lord. And if you look at that, again, I am not a theologian nor am I an English scholar. That little mark behind the Lord is like, I think it's a semicolon. Is that right? Somebody help me. And that's almost like putting a period.
It's just a pause.
It's a pause. Delight thyself in the Lord, and he shall give thee the desires of thine heart. Command, promise. But here's a couple, and I went to look at that, and I have a lot of things. Verse 23 in Psalms 37. The steps of a good man, the steps of a good person, ladies, are ordered by the Lord, and that person delighteth in the way they go. Okay? And this is the one that gets thrown and does all the time. Verse 25. I've been young and now I'm old. And there's no golden years, y'all. Just in case you're still looking for them. There is no golden years. That's a myth.
Just golden girls.
Golden. And it says, yet I have not seen the righteous forsaken, nor his seed begging for bread. And the last thing I can think of, a comment I think Cindy made a minute ago, and then Brad talked about going into China. If you listen to missionaries, if you listen to people that are over there, when they take this thing with them, they never have enough. Because the people there, the people in those countries that don't have this, they are thirsty for it. And they can't get their hands on it. And when they get it, they covet it in the right kind of way when they get this word. And sometimes we take it for granted.
We take a lot of stuff for
We
granted.
take a lot of stuff for granted. Steve, close us, please.
Father, I thank you, Lord God, for your mercy and your grace, Father. Lord, I thank you, Father, for all you taking care of us, meeting our needs. Lord, I thank you, Father, for who you are. I pray, Father, we just lift you up today, Lord. Lord, I just pray that you receive a blessing from us today, Father. Lord, that we might honor your name, Lord. Lord, I pray for Jacob as he preaches this morning. I pray for the music. Lord, that everything we do may cause you to smile, Lord. Lord, I just pray, Father, that you just go with us. I pray that you be with our pastors and bring them home safely this week, Lord. Lord, I pray that you just use them wherever they go and use us as we go to different places, Father. That we might be that light that shines, Father, in the darkness. Lord, I want to thank you and praise you in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.